The movie's about a car thief in a small southern Ohio town called Union Furnace.
Who gets an offer from a mysterious man to get involved with some underground betting games.
Underground games of life and death. And yeah, that was the initial spark anyway, that we just have this series of games. There is actually a town called Union Furnace in Ohio, but we just like the name of it. So we didn't shoot anything there. We shot mainly in southern Ohio and different areas like that, and then in our hometown of Columbus, where we grew up and where we first started making movies together.
I've known Nick for coming up on 20 years now. We met in middle school back in Ohio.
Well, Mike and I have been making movies together since we met, basically. So that would be middle school.
Nick had a Hi8 camera that his dad got him, and we started shooting, just little short films like a lot of people do in and around our hometown. It was kind of a movie at first sight.
And it's just progressed naturally, or unnaturally, to bigger and bigger movies.
Nick wrote Sandbar, which was the first film I was in, when he was 22. I played the son in the film, and he wanted someone great to play my dad. He got Rick Rossovich to be in the film. It's so great. He sent the script to his house out here in California, and he just happened to be here and selling his house. He was living in Sweden with his wife and his family. They split their time between here and Sweden, and he loved the friggin' script.
The script arrives from this writer. So I read it because I was on the road. I had nothing to do for 6 weeks. But the writing was so good. So I just continued to consider it and look at it and talk about it.
Nick flies out to Stockholm to convince him to do the film because Rick hadn't been in a film for quite some time.
He flew here to Sweden. I'm in Sweden right now in Stockholm. So I said, wow, this guy's intense. And then he wouldn't leave me alone for 2 days, reading the script over and over and over. And every time I did a line reading and it felt really horrible, he would just say, oh, that's really good, that's really good.
It was still one of the greatest memories I'll ever have doing that thing with really just me and Nick and Katie and Rick, just with a handheld camera running around Nick's grandmother's house, or great-grandmother's house. That was just a blast.
The first time I met Nick is really what it comes down to. Nick had flown over to try to kind of lasso my dad into their other first feature they shot, Sandbar, and Nick had flown over to Stockholm to kind of cement my dad being in that movie because my dad was on the fence back and forth it was just, he needed the extra push to commit.
Rick's son is a DP. He was based out of Sweden at the time, and when we were shooting Sandbar, Rick was mentioning that to us. We're like, okay, that's great.
We were in post-production on our first movie, Sandbar, which had a long post-production process because we had no fucking money. So it was kind of at the tail end of that. We were finally almost done, and we were dying to make another movie. We were just chomping at the bit, like, oh God, we just want to shoot something. It had been like over 2 years since we'd actually shot Sandbar.
We wanted to do something so bad.
Something that was completely different. I really wanted to do a thriller, and kind of convinced Mike that it'd be cool to do a thriller. I think he wanted to do another comedy. And it seemed really exciting, and it seemed like something that we could do for nothing, or so we thought. I mean, you could do it for nothing, but we ended up doing it for a lot more than we initially projected, because the initial idea was that it was just going to be like, hey, we could shoot this in my basement. It's just people in masks and these people up against a wall, so it'll be like, yeah, no problem. And now Keith David's in it.
How much cash are we talking?
Whoa. The players will not speak unless otherwise instructed. The highest stakes mean the highest rewards.
Unfortunately and fortunately, a situation came up where I was able to come into some money, and rather than sit on it or invest it, we wanted to make a movie. We'd already started writing the script. We hadn't finished it at that point.
I actually had an old script that I'd written like 20 pages of and just kind of abandoned, which just had the Cody Roy McLeod car thief character in it. It was always written for Mike. We sandwiched the Cody character from this old script right onto the very beginning of the movie, where he's with the great David Hayward and stealing the car from the church, and then we kind of follow him down an entirely new path.
many times I gotta tell you? Cadillac, Camaro. I can't move this jack scrap.
It's the best I can do, Parts.
Yeah. I'll trade you for a smoke. That's the best I can do.
You know, we just said, fuck it, I said, let's do it, man. Let's get some money, let's make a film, let's do it right now, we'll do it right away. Very quickly.
Are you ready to go? Yeah. All right, let's roll it. Mike had come into some money, and he was just like, hey, you want to make it? And I was like, hell yeah. And we just kind of did it, and it was such a quick turnaround. I mean, from initial idea, from just that initial spark I just said, to a wrapped movie, it was like 4 months. It was like 4 months. And then I cut it in like a month. So within like a span of, I would say 6 months, went from 0 to finished fucking movie. It was insane. It was a very quick, crazy process. We're still recovering from it, I think.
It is very fast, but sometimes it happens. I mean, it just happened, you know? Sometimes you just spark, you know?
But I still believe in you, Cody. You know why?
Huh.
Shit. I can't remember.
Boom.
You drive safe, son.
And cut. That was fucking great. We wrote it in like 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. It was fast. And somewhere it just kind of grew. They always do, and it just got bigger. And I think the initial thing that made it start to get bigger was this character, number one. I was like, Keith David, it's got to be Keith David. You know, it's like this is so perfect for him.
I never believe Nick when he says he's gonna get someone to be in his film.
So as we got, deeper into the script and the writing process, I was like, this has to be Keith David. There's nobody else. It had to be him. And I remember fondly that Mike was like, there's no way you'll ever fucking get Keith David. And I said, watch me.
Oh, fuck you, Lion Man. Look, I want to play again. Another game. A real game this time. None of this fucking bullshit.
So it was kind of a dare.
I'm like, yeah, okay, sure, you'll get it, yeah.
I talked to him, and he's like, yeah, I love it, I want to do it. I was like, great, we start shooting in 2 weeks. So 2 weeks later, he was in that freezing cold warehouse, and he was fantastic. The movie itself is obviously inspired by, John Carpenter movies, few of which Keith David is very prominent in. So it was kind of surreal that he was actually there, and as we were trying to make our thing, our thing ripoff, but trying to make our thing. So
You used to tell me stories about people. People would come to your town and make your whole dreams come true.
we had Katie Keene, who was so great to work with on Sandbar. We wanted to. I think she was the second person we cast. It's like, okay, it'll be Mike and Katie, and then whoever else we can think of.
I came to know Mike and Nick from their first film, Sandbar, which I was in.
Completely wrote this part for Katie, wrote it with her in mind.
I play number 6, the quiet one. She's a single mother. She definitely is in need of the money. That's why she's there, to play the game. But she's got some secrets in there.
You've been sitting here all this while, keeping secrets?
I want to win.
Kevin Crowley, who's amazing, is also in the first one. Plays number 3.
Fucking emus? You gotta do better than that.
I've never seen nothing like it.
Oh, then you ain't seen shit.
We definitely want to work with him again because it's just a blast to work with. And Lyle, Tara, who plays a school teacher in the film. Number 2, Ben Wallace. I've known him even longer than Nick. I've known him since I was probably 3 years old. He's an actor, and he is in Sandbar too. He plays Fuck You if you watch the film.
Get fucked.
That was my first experience with acting, and Nick was my first director.
Okay, from the head smash, okay? Station, do we need a little more blood?
I'd usually hear about what sort of projects they had going on in terms of writing, but out of nowhere they have this finished script. I'd never heard that they were working on anything, or they just have this script and they're getting ready to make it. It was just a scorching script. I mean, just so much going on there. It was just amazing. They were looking for somebody to play this strung out kid. You know, I'd acted for them before. They knew what I could do. They knew I had a little bit of range, and that I was willing to do things to my body.
I just want to go.
And so I was working on the production as, you know, a jack of all trades, and also acting as the strung out kid.
I think the thing was, when Nick put the cast together, was every character in the lineup hopefully represents a different stage in the life of the struggle.
Mark my fucking words, bitch. If they're docking us because of your stunt, I'll kill you myself right here, right now.
People who are on their last dime, who are at the end of their rope. In that sense, it's, you know, it's a metaphor for, it's not even a metaphor. It's a story about post-industrial America, where everybody is living paycheck to paycheck, and those are really the lucky people.
You wouldn't believe the things people do when they're down, or upside down. Maybe you've never been that low, but I have. You know, there's not always a Toyota Crown Majesta lying around so handy. Not to say you stole it. Maybe you just borrowed it.
And then Seth Hammond as the Lion.
That was the big thing, was like, well, who's gonna play the character, the Lion? And I had no idea, but I always defer to Nick on these sort of things, and he's like, well, if Seth do it.
Because I was like, yeah, it'll be great, you know. He's great. I can get the performance out of him if I need to, because he's smart, and, you know, he'll be good.
Seth had never been in anything ever. This is his first film.
That was kind of when the movie was still like, well, maybe we'll just make it in my basement for nothing on, like, this camera.
Nick believed in him, and Nick was reading him for a couple weeks before production.
But then, you know, the part grew, and there's a lot of dialogue, and I was like, are you okay with this? And he was like, yeah, I can do it. And my God, could he fucking do it.
I'm a devilish guy. Got a keen eye for despair, but I never lie.
This is like his first acting debut, and I just think he's phenomenal.
Everybody on set was just like, oh my God, who is this guy? Where did you find him?
Said, what about our bets? Hey, shut the fuck up. The bets are still on. We just ain't playing with this miscreant down here. Now, where you been, honey? We was missing you.
Well, Lion, to me, was very personal. It mattered to me because I knew that this particular individual was a no-good son of a so-and-so. And that does matter to me because I know people like that. And you know what? There's a part of me that's like that. I know you're wondering, why are they doing this? Well, folks, we're the gambling types. You the bets.
The film was shot in a little over 3 weeks.
22 freezing fucking cold days.
With a limited crew.
I got initially involved in Union Furnace because I sent Mike Dwyer, who I went to school with his younger brother, I sent him a Facebook message and I said, hey, word on the street is that you guys are doing a movie. I'm interested in doing movies. Do you need a production assistant?
They asked, you know, do you want to come over and shoot this? And I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm there.
And action.
We built sets.
Right, the set. That was quite a thing in and of itself, just to build something from scratch.
The waiting room and the games room are all hand-built.
We didn't have set designers, and we just doubled for that because we know what we wanted, and it was like, why the hell can't we just build it ourselves? It was like a big, like, shed warehouse thing near my father's house on a lake.
And I just remember it being cold. Really cold.
Every scene in the film you see is so cold.
Freezing cold.
It was 5 degrees or 10 below.
Very, very cold.
Some of the night shoots, like when Cody gets picked up by the Lion at the water tower, 17 below zero.
Everybody did what they had to do. That's what filmmaking is. You know, it's not about luxury. You sacrificed yourself for the good of the movie, and that's what we all did.
Bunch of kamikaze motherfuckers.
Our next movie actually takes place at a beach, Stranger in the Dunes. That was my deal with the crew and the cast, that we do our next one on a beach.
When Keith was happy, he was singing.
He would just sing so beautifully. He's like an angel.
When he was on the set, some of the most delightful times were when he would just break into song.
So I'm PAing, trying to keep a calm face while talking to Keith David. And at the end of that day, they were like, look, we need you to be the AD. I still even have like the voicemail that Bushman sent me. I listen to it when I'm getting down on myself. He sent me this fantastic voicemail. It's like, hey, I want you to know that you're doing a fantastic job. You have it in you and you should believe in yourself because you're really quite good at this. And I trusted him. I don't know if I would have done it with many other people.
I think I'm lucky to work with Nick because he knows what he wants, but he has fun with it too. So there's the pressure of getting it right, but there's never the pressure of getting it wrong.
It's an amazing thing to watch and to be a part of. He's amazing.
So let's try it again from, so how come you wanted to join him
So how come you wanted to join him so bad? Join him so bad.
Let's try a longer beat when you come all the way over to the tray of goodies, Keith, and then just take a longer beat.
When I was shooting my scenes, I was always thinking of the tunnel. And then I could see the end of the tunnel, and I decided to go through.
Union Furnace was so difficult, but in such a beautiful way.
I hope you die screaming like us.
That is nothing to say to a gentleman.
It was very important that we at least attempt to do something different than a typical thing that you've seen. That was always the intent, and hopefully we did that.
It's not like anything out there.
At its core, it's a creepy thriller, but it's got a lot of depth to it.
You have 8 people, 1 in 8 of them is gonna make it rich. And the rest of them are basically fucked. But that's the reality of the world distilled into 7 games.
Just desperation.
The American dream failing.
The real struggle that we all live with. You know, yeah, there's a little gore. And maybe you invite your grandma to see, but fuck that.
Hopefully it's scary, but it's also funny and exciting and weird and will blow your fucking mind.